Today I'm turning my entire digital TBR and every book that I've read from the library into mini books. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it too. Step one is designing the mini books. You can do this in Canva. I have a template linked down below that I got from Susan Carolyn, but this is what the template looks like. It has a slot for the book cover and then a slot for the spine, which you can change to whatever color you want. You would just go up here and select whatever color, and once you add a picture into here, you can easily just copy the colors that are in that book cover. So I'll show you an example. What you're gonna do once you open this template up is you're gonna upload all of your book covers in here. Once you've done that, you'll drag it over to the template. It'll fill in these two slots, and then you'll click on the pink part, click the color, and it shows you your photo colors from each of the books. So you can change it, see which one you like best, and that way you can kind of match it to the colors that are in the cover of the book. To find the book covers, go to Amazon, search for the book that you want, and you can take the book cover from there. Obviously, don't sell any of these mini books because it is copyrighted material, so just make these for personal use and it's totally fine to use the book covers for that. Over in this other window, I have my copies of all the books that I've already put in here. Some of these I've already read, like Silver Elite, Powerful, Fearless, Out of the Woods. Most of these early ones I've read or am about to read. I just started using the library this year, and so I wanted to have the books I read somehow on my bookshelf, even though I haven't purchased them. So I figured making mini books would be a great way to visibly display the books I've read that I don't own. My plan is to put them all in a jar and keep that on my bookshelf to kind of show my progress of books that I've read this year. But these other books are all books on my TBR that I want to read. So I plan on having another jar for that, kind of like my TBR prompt jar that I use to draw my monthly reads. But I'll have mini books in a jar with all the books that are on my digital TBR. These are books that I have on Libby in my holds, or I have saved on Kindle Unlimited that I want to read, but again, I don't own them. And I was thinking I could put them all in their own TBR jar, and then maybe as part of my monthly TBRs, I could still draw a few prompts from my TBR prompt jar, but I could also pull a few mini books from my digital TBR jar so that I have a mix of both new exciting releases, but also books that I already own on my monthly TBR. So that's kind of why I am making all of these mini books, and a couple ideas for how you could use them too. In here, if I click the spine and go to the colors, you can see there are a lot of colors in here. It'll give you a preview of just a few of the books that you pulled into the Canva document, but if you press see all, then you'll be able to access all of the colors for every single one of the covers that you've put in here. So I'm currently on Enchantra. I could change that to a different color if I wanted. I went with this one. And obviously you can pick whatever color you want for the spine, but it is a very nice feature that it has the photo colors automatically in there, so you can easily choose from those and match it and make it look really nice and cohesive. Now that you've completed this digitally, step two is printing the photos. If you have a colored printer at home, great, use that. Personally, I went to the library to get mine printed. Very likely, if your library is like mine, you have a certain number of free pages that you can print every single day. So my library allows us to print 4 colored pages a day. So I just saved the Canva documents, emailed them to myself, logged in on a library computer, and I was able to print these for free with a library card. Now that you have all of your photos printed out, let's go over what other materials we're gonna need for this project. First, you're gonna need a laptop to use Canva, but we already went over that. Then you'll have your papers with the mini books on there. Next, you're gonna need a surface to cut on. I used a cardboard box. You'll need an X-Acto knife or a box cutter, which is what I'm using. That's gonna be to cut the foam board. I got a 4-pack of these. They're pretty thin. It doesn't say the exact size on this package, but you basically want it to be the size of the spine that's on the books, because that's what's gonna wrap around the width of the foam board. So you can just kind of eyeball that. You'll need scissors to cut out the pictures, or you can use your X-Acto knife for that. And then you need something to adhere the pictures to the foam board. I'm gonna use double-sided tape because I had this on hand and I actually don't own a glue stick, but you could also use a glue stick, whatever's easier for you. Lastly, you're gonna want a pencil so that you can trace the size of these pictures onto the foam board before cutting. The foam board is the only thing that I had to go out and buy. I got this 4-pack from Michael's for about $10. But you could get it from Walmart, Amazon, or any craft store near you. Once step 3 is done, gathering your supplies, step 4 is gonna be cutting out all of the mini book pictures. I'm just gonna do this with scissors because that's easiest for me. But like I said, you could do that with an X-Acto knife, just whatever works best for you. I have all of my mini books cut out now. You could also make your physical TBR into mini books. That would work really well. I found that this template is also really nice for printing out book covers. If you have a reading journal, you can make 2 different covers side by side and just cut off the pink part. But these are a great size for journaling all the books that you've read this year or this month. I did start a reading journal this month as well, and it's been fun to craft all of these pictures and visually track everything that I've read. I've actually bought a couple of these books since printing out these pictures, like Alchemized and Rose and Chains, but I'm still gonna make them into mini books because I did read Rose and Chains from the library. So I think it'll be nice to keep track of books I've read from the library, even if I go on to own them later on. And Alchemized I ended up buying because it's over 1,000 pages and I just think it would make more sense to own that one. This one's a new release coming out soon, so I don't have it yet, but I'm still gonna make it into a mini book and put it into my TBR jar. If I draw the book as part of my TBR, that'll just be a good reason to read it, whether it's part of my digital TBR or physical TBR. Mini books are great for either of those. I had a few blank copies that I didn't add books into from the template, so I did cut out one of those so I can make a sample book with the foam, make sure I like how it turns out before gluing on any of the actual other covers that I want to use. That way if I mess up, I can adjust accordingly, but it should be pretty straightforward. I also cut out the size of just one book cover. So not the whole thing, but just the book cover, because this is going to be the size in step 5, which is tracing and cutting out the foam board. You're gonna want to trace out the size of just the book cover, not the whole thing, because the cover is gonna wrap around the foam board. So it's gonna be on the front and the back. So trace this size onto your foam board. The edges on this first one weren't super smooth, so I just replaced the blade of our box cutter, and that should work better for the rest of them. But that's why I am making a sample and a practice one first. The second one is a lot smoother. It took some trial and error, but I finally got all of the pieces cut out of the foam. It was kind of difficult to cut in a straight line, also to cut all the way through the foam. using the box cutter. So if you have an X-Acto knife that's more precise, sharper, that would be better to use. I just didn't have one, so I wanted to use what I had at home. But it worked out. I think accepting that the foam pieces aren't gonna look perfect is an important part of this. They're so small, you're not gonna be looking at all the little details up close. So just try as best as you can to make the edges straight, but if they're a little bit crooked, that's okay. I'm gonna move on to the final step, which is gluing the covers on. And whichever side is more crooked or a little bit messier, that's the side that I'll put the spine of the book cover on so that it's covered. Here's how the sample one came out with the blank cover. I think it looks pretty good. Not perfect, but unless you're looking super up close, you're not gonna notice all the little imperfections. What I did for this and what I am gonna do for all the other book covers is I put double-sided tape, 3 lines of it horizontally on the back of the book cover, and then went ahead and pressed it to the foam. That way it's adhering to all 3 sides of the foam board. I made more foam pieces than I need because I know at some point I'm gonna want to get more pictures printed since I'm always adding to my TBR. So I figured while I'm cutting them right now, I would go ahead and cut a bunch of extras as well. I left the box cutter and the cardboard out so I can cut down some of these foam pieces a little bit further. Some of them are just a little bit too big, so I'm just gonna cut the sides a little bit more now that I have the covers on and can see exactly how they look. So this pile still needs cut down a bit more, and then this other pile on the left is fully done. Up close, they're not perfect, but they look pretty good, and from far away, honestly, they just look cute. You can't really tell that they're a little bit messy. Although if you flip them over, a lot of these, the backs are messy. That one's pretty cute. But some of these, like that one, the back just didn't perfectly line up. I think ideally this foam would have been a little bit thinner, but this was the only size that the craft store had. So that's what I went with, and it worked out fine. I took a break for a little while because my hands got so sore from using the box cutter, but I did finish all of the mini books and I sorted them into 2 jars. One is my TBR jar. This has all the books that I have not read yet from my digital TBR. None of my physical TBR books are in here right now. I might add them later, but as of right now, this is my digital TBR turned into mini books. And then this other smaller jar has the books that I've read from the library this year. So I have a decent bit of books in here. I have been using the library in Libby quite a bit, and I'm gonna keep doing that. So as I do, the books will move from my TBR jar into my mini library jar. It was a decent bit of work to make the mini books, but it was also fun. It was a cool creative project, and I am pleased with how they came out. If you're planning on trying this too, I hope that you found this video helpful. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.